Welcome to 30 Minutes Inside. For half an hour, the walls fade. These are 30-minute conversations where inmates step outside the identity of prisoner and reintroduce themselves as people through humor, memories, imagination, and reflection. Today, we're hearing from Torin Williams, a Bronx native with deep Brooklyn roots and a strong bond with his late father. Born on Christmas Day, Torin discovered his passion for rap music at an early age. Through determination, hard work, and talent, he eventually earned a record deal with a major label. But just weeks before the release of his debut album, Torrin's life took an unexpected turn when he was convicted of a crime he maintains he did not commit. Yet through it all, Torrin has refused to let incarceration define him. Grounded in loyalty, strong morals, and personal principles, Torrin opens up about his journey, the experiences that shaped him, the people who have influenced him, and the person he has become today. This is just a glimpse of Torin Williams' story. All right, Torin, are you ready for your 30 minutes inside?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. All right, so what was your favorite smell growing up?
It's a mix between two different smells. One smell was the gas station. Every time my mom or my dad, I'd be riding with them and they pull up, get gas. For some strange reason, I always loved that smell. I roll the window down and I would just be inhaling away. Man, my mom or my dad, they would get a kick out of it because they would see me and they'd be like, "What you doing?" And I'd be like, "Oh," they like, "You like the smell of that gas, huh?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." They'd be like, and they would laugh.
Yeah.
But then also, another one of my favorite smells growing up besides that was my dad. At the end of our day, when I was real little, I used to be with my dad. I used to be with him all day. And we would always end our day by going into Baskin-Robbins.
Oh, Baskin-Robbins, the ice cream place? Yes.
Yeah. So back then, Baskin-Robbins, it's a little bit more of a homey. When you were going to the Baskin-Robbins, it was more of a homey type feel back then. It wasn't so, so like franchisey like that.
Yeah.
And so they had, fresh ice cream and that smell of all those, all the ice cream. It was like a particular type of smell, just like a real good smell. So I enjoyed that as well.
What's your favorite? What flavor did you used to get?
Cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream. Okay, basic, classic.
Yeah, cookies and cream. But when I used to go with my dad loved banana splits. So he would get a banana split and we would share it. But he would end up eating most of the banana split because as a child, I didn't care for the pineapple topping or the chocolate syrup. I only liked the strawberry sauce. You got the three different scoops, and one they put the pineapple, syrup and all that on there. Then they put the chocolate on another one, and then they put the strawberry on another scoop. So the scoop that had the strawberry, I would just eat that. And my dad would eat the rest of the banana split. But that would be our thing. We would always split a banana split.
Banana splits are so old school.
Yes, my dad was older. My dad was born in 1935. So, yeah, that was his thing. He loved banana split. So when I would go with him, that's what we would get, and we would split a banana split. Wow. Every day. That's how we would end our day.
I love that.
Yeah, that was our thing.
How would your family describe you growing up?
Beyond my years and old soul.
Old soul. Why would they say an old soul?
Because I've always been wise, and I always spoke beyond my years. So my dad, he never ever spoke to me like a baby. Like my dad, I don't ever remember. I don't care. I can remember my dad speaking to me. I'm like I don't know how I remember, but I mean very, very young. And I never remember my dad ever being like, goo goo gaga. He never did that. He would just talk to me regular. And I used to be able to, I would hold conversations with my dad. I mean, and I could, like real conversations. He would talk, and he enjoyed talking to me. And also with my mother, we would talk. And so with my mother, she more so, yes, she would talk to me regular, but she would have some of that, baby
The
stuff in
mothering,
there.
like, oh, baby.
Yeah,
And yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing where that she didn't, which she just was like real straightforward with, was like I give you an example. My mom used to walk me to the bus. So I'm little. I'm probably like, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, something like that. I'm probably like 5. So she walked me up to the bus. So we standing on the main road and we'd be waiting for the bus. So used to have trucks. They used to pass by, like the 18-wheelers. They'd be passing by. And so I forget how I learned, but I had, a little kid, I had learned the signs that make them honk the horn.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother knew I'd get a kick out of it when they would honk the horn. So when she would see the 18-wheelers coming, she'd say, look, this the truck, the 18-wheelers coming. Do the thing. You do the sign. You know how to do it. And I do it. And then, they bam, 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 and I start laughing. My mom would laugh with me. She'd be like, look, they did it for you. And, this is our little thing. So one day, I never forget, I said to her, I did the sign, and the truck, he beat, bam, 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 and drove by. And I said, Ma, I said, one day I'm going to drive one of those. And my mother dropped down to her knees, spun me around by my shoulders, and then she grabbed my face, and she said, no. She said, you're not going to drive one. She said, you're going to own the company. Then you can drive anyone you want.
Yes.
And even though I was 5 or 4 or 5, I understood in that moment exactly what she meant.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't explain it any further than what I just told you. And it was powerful and it was impactful, and it's still with me all my life. I never forgot that. So that's how my mother would, like how I said, my dad would just talk to me. He would drop jewels and he would say many profound things. But my mother's approach was stuff like that, like where that was her talking to me beyond my years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But every day talk. She would talk to me, but she would more so be, like you said, mothering. And when my dad would he was lots of love, of course, but he would talk to me. Like, we would have conversations and stuff. So, but I never forgot that moment with my mother.
Yeah. Your parents, they sound amazing. Were they married, like throughout, or did they ever divorce?
No, they together over 70 years. My dad had been with my mother since my mother was 14.
Yeah. That young love. So
they were my dad, even though my dad's older than my mother, but they were together ever, all over 70 years. Never divorced, never split up, never broke up.
That's beautiful.
Always together. And it was, that was a blessing as well, because one thing, I learned from them, which is real important. I'll say, I learned love, I learned relationships from them. My mom and dad were not only married, they were best friends. Mm. And I used to be real, real quiet. Almost so there'd be no attention on me and no one would tell me to leave, and just be real quiet, sit and listen. And I used to get a kick out of watching that. My mom would be sitting on the floor and they'll be in the dark and they'll just be talking.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, just laughing and talking and just like friends, just like, and you don't see that. You see, people will be together and they love each other, but it's like, you do your thing, I do my thing, and, maybe we're together when we go to sleep, or we're together when we eat dinner, or if we're going to go do something. And so to see my parents interact like they were friends, like they used to, I'm talking about, they used to be laughing and telling each other, just talking and laughing and carrying on, and just like, and I, it was beautiful. I never forgot that. And I used to love to observe it as
Yeah.
a child.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that does change a person's perspective if you sit there and see two parents together like that who actually
Yeah.
love each other and who, like how you sat there and said, they were actually best friends. You know, I think that's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, it was definitely powerful, definitely deep because they were cool. Like, and like I can't describe it. Like to see them together. I mean, to the point like they used to look at each other and everything. Like it was crazy. Like they were just like I said, they were just like the best of friends. They're both the same sign. My mom and dad, they're both Aries, and they were just thick as thieves. They like really they not only loved each other, but they liked each other. They really did. You know what I mean? Like,
when did you realize your life was changing?
when did I realize my life was changing? When my mother's eldest sister was murdered.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
my aunt Ma. My aunt Ma was murdered in her home in a very very vicious way
Mhm.
by two brothers that her daughter was dealing with,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
they took my aunt's life in cold blood. My aunt was she was elderly, you know, she was elderly, and I think I don't think I know that's when a lot of things changed for me because until that point I viewed life in a different kind of way. And what I mean by that is, I guess, being a little more naive, and that kind of had me thinking, like, you know, if somebody, what kind of world do we live in, so to speak? It's not all peaches and cream like you're taught to believe or you feel that it is as a child. And so at a young age, I realized and I seen that it wasn't because I said to myself, you know, I love my aunt. My aunt was she was very quiet, but she's very sincere, very cool, you know.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, dag, if two grown men and you know young, I mean, you know, for lack of a better term, young grown men, and they weren't kids, they were grown men, but you know they were strong. They didn't have any you know elements with them or anything like that. If two grown men could you know bust into an elderly lady's home who showed them you know, hospitality, who let them come in her home, who fed them, who, you know,
Yeah.
if they could bust into an elderly lady's home and do the things that they did to my aunt without any regard, you know, it makes you look at things. What like I looked at it like, well, if God forbid I ever thought that to her,
Yeah.
but I you know, God forbid I thought to myself, if I ever thought somebody like that path, if they could do that something like that to her, well, I mean, what could they do to you know? I mean, what could they do to me? You know, so that's when things changed. My outlook on things, and you know how I felt about a lot of stuff changed. That was a very traumatic experience.
And what's something people glorify but shouldn't?
Something that people glorify that they shouldn't.
Mhm.
A lot of times, and I'm not gonna say I don't to some degree get it, but a lot of times people glorify prisoners.
Mm.
Like as if it's a rite to passage, or as if it like it's more than what it is. You know what I mean? Like it's and so when you do that, I can understand to some degree because not people who've never been. A person who's been, I can understand when they make it out why they speak the way that they speak because you're blessed to make it out and you go through so much. So I can understand why a person, you know, would speak like that.
Yeah.
But someone who's never been, they speak about it and they don't realize, you know, when the record stops playing, it sounds cool when it's on the record. It sounds cool when it's in the movie, but when the movie's over or the record stops playing, the person who's doing that hard time is still doing that hard time. There's no There's no stop button. And so it doesn't be when you forget about it, when you're not mentioning it, when you're not playing the song, that person's still doing time. A lot of young kids and a lot of people don't realize, they think like, oh yeah, they see it glorified or they see it spoken about in a particular type of light, and don't realize it's very, very serious. It's a serious, serious, serious thing that a lot of people do not make it out of. A lot of guys lose their lives in here. It's not a game. It's a very, very serious thing. It's not a game. It's not a fun place, And like I said, because you get tired, you can't push stop, can't take a break. There's no timeout. That's what people don't realize. So when you're home, if you don't feel like going to work, you're having a bad day, you're not in the right headspace, you can call out of work. If you volunteer somewhere or you're supposed to get up with some friends and you're not in the right headspace or you're having a bad day or you're dealing with depression, whatever your issue or whatever you're going through, you can remove yourself, you can take a break. Not only can you take a break or step away from whatever it is, like, okay, I don't want to go to work today because I'm not in the right headspace or I'm dealing with something, I can call out. But then on top of calling out, I can say, oh, let me go walk in the park, clear my head. Let me go over here and do. There's none of that in here. Yeah. You're forced. You can't call out. No calling out. There's no timeout. I don't care what's going on. I don't care who passes away. I don't care how sick you get. I don't care how upset you feel. I don't care how your mental health is. None of that matters. You still got to do it. So, it's a misconception that, this place is, something to be
glorified.
Yeah. But I understand because it's no different as far as this. If you would speak to a soldier who made it through war, he would speak about the war in a particular kind of way because he made it through all of that hardship and all that impossible stuff. So I can understand how he's speaking about it. He's speaking about it as a warrior because he made it through that. So same way I can understand how a guy who comes out of prison, why he's speaking the way that he's speaking because he made it through some horrific things. So you understand what I'm saying? But
yep.
Wow, and it's entertaining and wow because the person you're telling you can't believe that you made it through that or lived through that. So yeah, it's something to talk. It is something to talk about. It's something that people want to hear about. But still in all, you're speaking to a young child, or you would like to try to. You want to give it to them real. You want to give it to them raw. Just try your hardest to deter them from not that anybody wakes up and says, "Oh, I'm going to prison today," because that's not how it goes. It's not how it works either. And a lot of times people say like, "Oh, he made a choice to go to prison." I mean, some people, I maybe so. I'm not saying that they don't. I mean, but certain a lot of people, it was happenstances. The twists and turns that came with whatever life you were pushed into, or somebody who's growing up in poverty and they start hustling. Not justifying it, but the person's trying to, make it through, and so by hustling to feed themselves because they're growing up in poverty, they ended up getting incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like a waking up, I'm going to go to prison. Decisions that they had to make for their survival led them to prison.
Mm-hmm.
But not necessarily a decision to go to prison. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
People also don't understand how easy it is to go to prison. That's something that's a misconception as well. People don't realize that because if you wouldn't believe the vast amount of people from all different types of walks of life that I've encountered, that I've met, that I've talked to that got incarcerated. So everyone thinks, oh, yeah, it's the serial killer, and it's the drug dealer, and it's the this, it's the gangbanger, and it's the... I met guys who are vets who were in wars and in Iraq, Desert Storm and different wars. I've met guys that have owners of Fortune 500 companies. I don't think there's anything. Politicians, you meet all kinds of people. You meet people from all kinds of walks of life, and it's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny because when you speak with them, they'll say, I had a certain perspective. I looked at people in a particular kind of way that came to prison. I didn't realize how easy it was to come. Mm-hmm. I remember I was with a guy. He was a construction worker for the union. He's never been in trouble a day in his life. Always the construction worker, and a successful construction worker. He got off work.
You have 1 minute left.
He had his knife. He had his knife in his, the construction belt, the tool belt that they wear. He had his knife, and it was longer than 4 fingers. But he
hard-working citizen. Not like, you know what I mean?
And they charged him with a concealed weapon, and he went to prison.
Yeah. Call me back after it hangs up.
All right.
Mhm.
So people don't realize how easy it is to come to prison.
It's very true. Very true.
Mhm.
And that's why they sit there and say it's easier. I remember my grandma used to say this though. She's like, be careful. She's like, it's easy to get in, but hard to get out. She's like, that is
the. Always say that.
Yep. It's the easiest system to get into, but the
Thank
hardest
you for
to get out.
Securus. Goodbye.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah. Before we had our last 30 minutes that ran out. The last question was we were touching on was the biggest misconception that many people have about prison, right?
Old timer. He used to always say, the wheels of justice are slow in reverse.
Mhm.
He used to always say that. That was his saying. And it's true.
It's true. I agree.
You can get, and then that's a misconception, and people don't realize that. And so, people hear you're in prison or whatever, and just quick to write it off. Oh yeah, and not realize what goes into all of that as far as you ending up there. And when you just look at things on the surface, you miss so much. And I mean, that's anything in life. But most people just deal at their everyday lives on the surface. And it's sad with anything because it's so much deeper than that. And when you look at things on the surface, it's easy to write things off. It's easy to, not have any kind of attachment or emotions to a person's struggle or what they're going through or what's actually happening. So you miss so much when you're just dealing on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I was saying, I was locked up with a guy who is a construction worker his whole entire life. And he had a knife that he carried for 25 years on his work belt that he used at his construction site. And it was on his belt with his hammer and his measuring tape and everything else. And because it was longer than 4 fingers, he got a felony and he came to prison. It's crazy. And not saying that, of course, the world we live in, it has laws and we have a justice system. So, but, more times than not, the justice system is used and abused. So even if a person were to get into some type of situation that, calls for the justice system, doesn't mean he deserves the 50 years. Doesn't he mean he deserves the 60 years? It doesn't mean that. So every situation is different. And you can't take it, you shouldn't take your humanity out of it to make the decision to say, hold on, this is ridiculous. Or, okay, we're following the law. They just, you deserve, this much, but this much is like, it doesn't, the time doesn't justify, the crime don't justify the time, and everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
So, like, I was locked up with another guy. And he was old. He was like probably 70. And when he got locked up, he probably was like 65, something like that. And he's a family man. He had a lot of kids. And an older guy, which it doesn't matter, old or young, it's disgusting either way,
Mm-hmm.
But an older guy raped and beat his daughter. She almost died.
Mm.
And he took the law into his own hands as his father. So now, we're not going to get into, I'm not going to say to justify taking the law into your own hands or anything like that. We're not saying this or that. But how don't I look at that, as a father? How do I don't look at that as a human being? How do I don't say, okay, this is a different type of situation? But even with the jury, once you're sitting at that table and once you have a label and people are fixated with that, instead of looking at the facts, instead of looking at what's really going on, a lot of things that get to a jury shouldn't even made it to a jury.
Mm-hmm.
And jurors, just like anything else, people don't know the law, and people are fixated and caught up, and they make their decisions and they deal with things based on what they see on TV, and they think that that's what they bring with them in real situations. And it's completely different. These are the actors. These are real lives. These lives are going to be impacted. Lives have been impacted. It's a different type of situation. It's to be taken seriously. But a person who's a school teacher and or from any walk of life, they're going to go off of what they know, and they're going to go off of what they saw, what they've seen. So, but a lot of times, it's the justice system it's weaponized. Like I said, every situation, even if it calls for time or calls for punishment or whatever, every situation is different, and it should be treated, with humanity as a human being. Like, hold on, this is a impossible situation, or this is a situation where this is crazy. Like, I understand. Like, this is where it's a double-edged sword now, because I want to hold you accountable for any and everything that you do or don't do in your life. But now, because I'm overloaded, no one holds me accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's talking out of two sides of your mouth. Right? I mean, which one is it? So here you have somebody sitting at a table, and we're going to scrutinize and we're going to judge you, but we're not going to take anything into consideration. We don't care that the guy hit you in the head with a baseball bat and was going to kill you. We don't care about any of that. Whether you were defending yourself or not, we don't care. You did X, Y, and Z, and now we got a prosecution to full extent. We're gonna hold you accountable for every single thing that happened. We don't care that you were overworked. We don't care that you were stressed. We don't care that you were in a crime-ridden neighborhood. We don't care that this guy has been robbing you and harassing you. But even more so than not looking at all the facts, they don't care. But now when the shoe is on the other foot, we have excuses for why it's okay for me to throw you under the bus. That's insane. It's okay for me to destroy your life because I have 100 cases.
Mm-hmm.
So your life is less. You're a child of a lesser God now, and your life means less because I'm overworked. So don't hold me accountable, but we're going to hold you accountable. And that's ridiculous, but that's the way that it is, unfortunately.
How does prison affect a person's identity?
How does prison affect a person's identity? It can affect your identity in many ways. And also, it can affect your identity in many ways because things are so cold
Mm-hmm.
And prison is a place where you see the worst part of people, the worst sides of people. And I'm not even necessarily, at this moment, I'm not even talking about the people inside prison. I'm saying your friends, your loved ones, people you've known all your life, people who you take care of. When you're incarcerated, you see the worst of them. You see the worst in them. You see the worst of them. How their treatment of you, how they deal with things, how they handle, and this all these different things can affect your identity, your identity, your outlook, affect your heart, your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Also, dehumanizing. They say rehabilitating, but it's dehumanizing, and that can affect your identity in a lot of ways as well. You know, constantly, being outcast, being dehumanized, and being treated as a child of a lesser God. You know, it can strip away your humanity and change you in ways that, you know, no human being should be changed. You know, in those types of ways, it can be. You know, you go through some things that no human being should have to ever go through. You know.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Mm.
Not that it's right, not that it's wrong, whatever. You could understand how a stranger who doesn't know you is just looking at what they see. Oh, that person's in prison. You know, okay, you don't know me.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see is big as far as you see bars, you see a prison, and I'm in it. So you coming up with your own, you know, whether you're scared, whether you, oh, that person got to be a horrible person because they're in there, or whatever you feel. But you're a stranger.
Yeah.
But someone who you've taken care of, whose rent you paid, who's you know who you raised, you don't expect to see certain types of behavior or experience certain types of treatment from your loved ones. And my dad used to always say, you know, you want to. It was a hell of a statement. He used to always say this, but he said, you want to see who your friends are, go to prison.
Yeah.
and I mean, he never lied. You know, he said, you want to see who your friends and family are, go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and it's true. This is like people. I don't know. It's like, yeah, but the treatment and the behavior of people. A lot of times it doesn't even get to the fix. It's like the minute that you step in here, you see the true colors of a person that you thought you knew. Because there's a lot of misconceptions. Like I said before, people think that everybody that comes to prison, and it's really not, but people think that everybody comes to prison is broke and wasn't doing anything, and you come into prison, large percentage, probably more than not, guys come in here, they're fathers. They still have relationships with their children. They go on trailers with the children. They're married. They have wives. And not that they met while some when they met while they was in prison, but a lot of them, they were with their wives before they were incarcerated, and they were living lives. Like they had businesses, they have bank accounts, they have savings. A lot of times it wasn't, it's not oh, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, I need you to, as far as, financially, it don't be that a lot of times with a lot of guys. You have more guys that are all right than not. And I think that's a misconception. People think every dude is in here and they're just like, like if they wasn't doing anything with their life before they was incarcerated. And you find more guys. I know guys that have paid their kids, many guys who pay their kids college tuitions from prison, who pay their mortgage where their wife and children live at, still from prison. People had lives. Contrary to what they're in prison for, people had lives. They were living life and own property and have cars and bank accounts and families and different things of this nature. So, you so it doesn't, so it's the thick and thin. No, people just start behaving in a manner that you've never ever seen before, and most times that your hand doesn't call for, because you took care of these people, or you raised these people, or you were always there for these people, or you're still taking care of these people. And now you're in here and they're stealing from you, and they're going in your bank account without your permission, and they're taking your car and just doing God knows what with it, knowing that they wouldn't do any of these things if you weren't incarcerated. And it blows your mind because you've done nothing but be good to these people, whether it be family, whether it be friends. You've done nothing but be good to them and always be there for them. And for some strange reason, like I said, you see the worst in people when you are incarcerated, and that can change you a lot. It puts a bad taste in your mouth, and to have you look at things different, look at relationships different, look at people different. All right, the person's incarcerated, you're already down. This is now when you choose to apply your foot to my neck, and my hand doesn't call for it from you, because I've been nothing but good to you, and I've been nothing but there for you. And still, even from here now, I'm still there for you. Out of all the people you could mistreat or do wrong, how are you making a conscious choice, a decision to do me wrong? There's a lot of that.
How do disciplinary or tickets operate in Sing Sing, and also how easy it is to get a disciplinary and how it affects your release?
The way the tickets operate is the COs can, write you up. They have a rule book. They have different things, rules and different, and so a CO can write you up. A civilian, can get you written up. So, it's easy to get a ticket. It's basically, it's not hard at all. It's very easy to get a ticket. Somebody could be having a bad day and give you a ticket for something that they've never, you can get a ticket for just about anything. You could be talking too loud and get a ticket, because the way that you have something called refusal. I forget the number for it, because they have numbers. But so you got something called refusing a direct order, and refusing a direct order covers all the bases for the most part. You have other different things. Like you could get a ticket for fighting. You could get a ticket for just about anything. But refusing a direct order, it's like, okay, you're talking loud, and you're unaware that you're talking loud. And normally, an officer would say, not for nothing, you're kind of loud. Could you just keep it down? And that would be it. And if you continue to talk loud, maybe remind you again, like, I know you ain't doing it on purpose, but we're inside this space. Could you just try to keep it down, please? And that would be but if you have an officer that's having a bad day or that doesn't like you, he can write you up for talking loud, and just you refuse the direct order because he told you to stop talking loud. So, and you continue to talk loud, and it didn't have to necessarily be with malicious intent. You just weren't aware of your. So a lot of times, all the time, because a lot of stuff is silly stuff. You know what I mean? And also, when you get a ticket, they take $5 from you. What happens to the $5? I don't know what they do with the $5. So
they take money. So if you get a ticket, they take money.
$5
from you. What? From your commissary?
From your account. You have an account in here. We get monthly statements and everything. So everybody has an account. However, everybody has different amounts in their prison account.
And we're talking about currency.
$5 American dollars. U.S. dollars. 5. If you get a ticket, it's $5 out of your account for getting the ticket. You have to $5.
So what happens if hypothetically I'm released after doing like a 15-year bid, and heaven forbid I had so many tickets, and those occurred to a certain amount. So when I leave, they're going to be like, hey, well, you have a negative account that you have to pay.
No. The
Okay.
minute you get the ticket, the $5 is taken. It's not you get a ticket, it takes the $5. They're not waiting or letting it stack up. You get the ticket, the $5 will be gone. As soon as there's $5, if you don't have any money, then whatever job you have, your state pay. As soon as there's $5 in your account, it'll be removed for the ticket that you caught.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's how that operates.
That's
And like
horrible.
I said, you can get a ticket. You can get a ticket for anything. As far as how tickets can affect you, tickets can affect you in many ways. It can affect you parole board. It can affect you with clemency. It can affect you in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times the people who are writing the tickets that's not thought on their mind. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about the here and now, what's going on in the moment. They're not taught what the tickets can do. They just know that $5 to be taken, and then you can also have sanctions. So if you're given a ticket you got tiers. So you got tier 1 ticket, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 3 means, the penalty. Tier 3 is like the highest. That's like you're facing box time. And so if you get found guilty, and so that's how it's tiered. Tier 1 ticket, tier 2 ticket, tier 3 ticket. You also, before tier 1 ticket, you also have counsel reprimand. And that's the lowest. That's the lowest type of ticket as far as class. Then it goes 1, 2, and 3 is the highest. And so if you get found guilty, you also get certain sanctions. So besides the $5, you could get loss of commissary for 40 days, 90 days. Loss of packages for 40 days, 90 days. Loss of phone. You get loss of TV. If you get lost of, yard. Certain things you can get lost of, Now, if you get a ticket, the person that you're going in front of to fight your ticket is the person who wrote the ticket's fellow co-worker. So if you and Tom work together every day and Tom gave me a ticket, and you and him go and have lunch every afternoon, and I have to come before you to fight the ticket that Tom gave me, by you finding me not guilty of Tom's ticket, it's like you going against your friend and your coworker. So who's going against their friend or coworker for me or for anybody else? So
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the simplest thing you've ever got a ticket for, and you're like, what the hell is this?
Well, surprisingly, in my 17 years, I don't have any tickets.
I know, because you're so good, Torin. You are on some real shit though. Yeah.
I give all glory to God. It's because of Him, But I'm glad I don't have any.
Okay. What conversations about incarceration are missing?
Conversations about incarceration that are missing. I think. I know you want me to be specific. I think there's many conversations about incarceration, about incarceration that are missing.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. I think many conversations about incarceration are missing. Because they always say prison is the stop right next to the graveyard. And what they mean by that is no one cares about prison. No one cares about anybody that's in prison. Automatically, when a person is incarcerated, people automatically form their own opinion, or they already have an opinion formed already. So someone's in prison, he deserves to be there. Who cares? Lock him up, throw away the key. And it's for lack of a better term, it's kind of funny that it's that way, because what in life is that simple? You have, it's like in the street, and in the world, you have good people, you got bad people, you got, down to earth people, you got people who are not down to earth, they ain't in prison. You got people in the street you can't trust, you wouldn't trust. You got people in prison you can't trust that are dangerous, just like in the street. It's the world. It's people. You can't just automatically make an assumption that your neighbor is a more loyal or more safer person than me because of, where I'm at or what it is that I'm going through. And without even people making an assumption, without even truly knowing. I think, and it's funny also because people will be surprised, right? You'll have a person say, yeah, he's in there, leave him in there, lock him up, throw away the key, right? And you could present that same person with, let's just say hypothetically, with a Ted Bundy or somebody, a serial killer, an admitted serial killer, and hear what that person would have to say about that. Oh, that person's and would be surprised that I agree with you too. So, you would be surprised the things that, the way that the movies show or the things that you might think are celebrated or it's even in this community or even in this, horrible place. Dudes aren't celebrating rapists. Dudes aren't celebrating serial killers, and like no one's celebrating that. It's not cool. That's not tough. That's not. And people hold everybody under the same umbrella, and they don't realize. Well, if me and you agree that we both dislike rapists and we don't want them nowhere around us, then we're kind of alike. Don't you think? We have more in common than you may think.
Yeah, true.
So me being in prison obviously isn't that significant as far as me and you being able to coexist or be able to get along, or for you to be able to identify with me and say, oh no, he's really a real person. Oh, he's a father too. Oh, he has kids too. Oh, they're doing great in school just like my kids. You see what I'm saying? But when you dehumanize a person and you just put a prison in it, people just come with a preconceived notion. It's really ignorant because no story in life is in black and white. What's in black and white? Nothing. You got nuts in here that I don't want nothing to do with. And I'm in here. You got nuts in here that I wouldn't invite over to my house for dinner. So, but I say that to say, everybody's not crazy or out of their mind or a lunatic, or that's not reality. Do you have them? Yeah. Just like are all of your neighbors in your neighborhood that way? No. But do you have them? Yes. And it's the same way, it's the same way in here. Everybody's not incarcerated for the same thing. Some people didn't do it. Some people did do it. And even those who did do it, everything's not the same thing. Some people are in here for drunk driving. Some people are in here for tax fraud. Some people are in here for defending themselves.
Yeah.
Some people are in here because they were in the street, or a particular element of the street that never affected the person who's making the judgment.
What would you say to people who sit there and say, I've heard this so many times, oh, well, prison's not that bad. They get 3 meals and a cot. I'll take that any day. What would you say to people? You've heard people say that. Like that. Like I've heard so many people say that. What would you say to people who say that?
I would say that I guess they believe that Never Never Land exists, because that couldn't be so far. That couldn't be furthest from the truth. Prison is a horrible place, and you're lucky if you get 3 hours in the cot, if you want to call it a cot. It's horrific. It's ain't nothing sweet about it. Ain't nothing, fun about it. It's not a place that. Not a place that. It's not a place that anybody wants to be. It definitely isn't. I'm not celebrating it, glorifying it. There's nothing to glorify. And it's rough. It's very rough. And you go through things in here you never in your life, you never in your life could imagine. You go through things in here that are just mind blowing, just try to, persevere and just lock in and push through, but it's not like a movie, and it's not, not something and you go through a lot of stuff that, I told you before, and I mean, I guess in some ways it's a good thing as far as, I guess seeing people for who they truly are. But you lose a lot. You lose a lot of relationships. You lose a lot of people in your life, and not because of why you're in prison. That's not what, because whoever knows you, and they love you. So if you're in here for tax evasion, your friends and family's not going to stop loving you or being your friends and family because you're locked up for tax evasion. Now, if you're in here for raping children or rape, period, then yeah, your family, I can see your family not, wanting anything to do with you. Nobody wants to have anything to do with anybody like that. Yeah, I mean, depending on what you've done, or what you're accused of doing, people may, write you off. But I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, where you still maintain the relationship that you have with whoever you have them with. And, I don't know, people act really, really different as time goes on. And they act in ways, and they forget a lot of things, and they act in ways that you're not accustomed to them acting. They never act that way before, and it's just so. I guess it's a good thing, maybe. It's depending on who you ask in some ways, because I guess you get to see their true colors. But sometimes you wish you didn't see their true colors. And it can be very hurtful when someone that you love unconditionally starts to behave in a manner that, I'm not even just unacceptable, just strange. Like, it's as far as strange to you and their relationship, the dynamics of you're in their relationship. So if I've always been, just hypothetically, if you were my best friend, and I've always been loving and caring to you, and I've always been there when you were down, and always helped you through, and all the stuff, and you have nothing but good things to say about me. And now I'm in a situation where I'm down. Now I don't need you financially. I have that covered. Just your emotional support. Just you keeping your word. Whatever. Small things. Or you not going out of your way and doing anything that you've never done to me before that's not friendly. That's not loving. Why now? Why when a person is, at their worst or at their lowest? Why all these years I've been this way with this person, they've been this way with me? Why now do I choose to sleep with their wife? But the thing about that's a double-edged sword. Because yes, you do have those situations, but then you also have the situations where the person was taking care of their mother and still taking care of their mother. So, I'm talking about paying their rent, paying their mortgage, paying their car note, making sure, taking care of their family. And so why would I steal from my child? My child does everything for me. He hasn't stopped being a great son or a great daughter. Why would I steal from them? I wasn't stealing from them when they were here. Why would I do that now? So you see things, because everybody always looks at things, but a lot of times it'd be a lot of stuff that be the complete opposite, where it's like uncalled for, and it blows your mind because you never seen it coming or expected it. It has nothing to do about you being incarcerated. It has nothing to do about you being, whatever you're incarcerated for. No, people just choosing the time when you're down to do things that are just unbelievable as far as in regards to the dynamics of you and their relationship. People think your life stopped or your responsibilities stopped because
you have 1 minute left.
And that's not how it works. That's not reality. That's something that the movies don't show you. That's what some people have an idea and don't even realize it, where they're like, wow, this is crazy. Like, yeah, people have children. People are taking care of their children. School's about to come. Okay, gotta get school clothes for the kids, and that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So when you hear, and this is why when you hear loved ones and friends and family speak, or people that get to know certain individuals, just like in the street, certain individuals, those that are stand up in a particular kind of way, which there's more than you would expect, you hear a certain kind of, you like, hold on, like, wow, yeah, he sounds just like me. Yeah, it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's not like these things don't stop because you've been incarcerated. None of it stops.
All right. So this is like the wrap-up question for the interview. And what truth do you hope viewers leave with after hearing your interview?
That's a good question. That's a great question, actually. And I hope you leave with that, because somebody's in prison, it's no different than your neighbor. And what I mean by that is people are people. You have good people, you have bad people, you have joyful people, you have wicked people, you have soft people, you have dumb people. No matter where you're at in life, it doesn't necessarily define the person. It could define the person, but that's not by a rule of thumb. Because a person's a cop, they're a great, honest person. That's not true. Because a person's in prison, they're a horrible, wicked person. That's not true. Because a person has works at a Fortune 500 company, they're the smartest person in the world. That's not necessarily true. And so, if you, I'm not mad at anybody for being cautious. I'm not mad at anybody for being cautious, but I'm going to be cautious with anybody that I do not know.
Yeah.
No matter where they're at, because you can have a wicked person working at the convenience store, and you can have a humble wicked person that's in prison, or you can have a nice, peaceful person, or a big person that was working at the store. You can have a nice, peaceful person that's in prison. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's life. It's life, and people are different. You know what I mean? And so I would want a person to walk away not just assuming that because somebody's in prison, they're the worst person on planet Earth. Because that's not necessarily true.